Hi everyone, today I'm going to do a last gasp of summer look. So I'm going to do quite a sun-kissed look, quite a sort of sweet makeup look I'd say, using some trends that have been around for a while, and I want to discuss trends anyway because I think it's something that I've been asked a lot about recently, and lots of ideas have come up. So I'm going to start by using some moisturiser. I'm using this one, which is the Cosmetic Immunity. I like this one because it's an oil-free moisturising gel, but it's also very luminous. So it's good for, I guess, more of a combination skin if you want to get a little bit of shine but without having anything too greasy. So one of the trends I thought I'd incorporate into this is freckles, and everyone is loving painting freckles on. It's been going on for quite a few years now, and it's funny because I think freckles, painting on freckles was always a sort of makeup artist thing, and there definitely didn't used to be like special products just for painting on freckles. It used to be that we would use mainly eyebrow pens or eyebrow pencils or powders, and you would sort of kind of make it yourself. But now there are so many freckle pens and real almost makeup ranges that kind of cater to that trend. There's a little bit, I think, like when highlighting started to become known as strobing, and then people were doing strobing creams, which, or highlighting liquids, which looked to me like highlighters, but calling them strobing liquids. So I think these things kind of come around, and they often just get, I guess, professionalized or made into something which is more available to everyone, which is good. So I'm going to start with a base. I'm going to use this Tinted Moisturiser by NARS, and this is the shade Alaska, which isn't too much deeper. It's not too, I'm not going sort of tan sunny, but it's got some nice golden undertones, so it'll cancel out the redness around my chin, and just put moisturiser on that. That's fine, it'll mix in with it. It'll cancel out this redness around the centre of my face, and that also works well with the colour of my body. So slightly went a bit over top with that. I get a clean brush. Just going to really blend that all in. So yeah, I mean, how has your summer been? We've just found it to be quite rainy here for most of the summer. We had a few weeks where it was nice, and then everyone got really happy, and here comes the summer, and then it was raining again. So it's been a bit, well, the weather is weird at the moment, but I think that this makeup is going to make me feel like I've just come back from holiday. So I'm going to apply a touch of highlighter. I'm going to make this look really quite glowy and shimmery, very kind of pretty, and lots of layers of luminosity, should we say. So this is a nice tinted moisturiser. I really like this NARS one. If you're going for that really dewy look, for me it's too dewy, so I definitely would want a powder, but I'll do that a little bit later on. So that's my Crystal Nebula highlighter, so it's just got a hint of warmth, but not much. A bit more champagne-y. Next I'm going to use some concealer. And I really like this one by Jones Road. This is Bobbi Brown's new makeup range. This is her own makeup range. And of all the products I've tried, I really like these pencils. This colour, shade number 7, for me at the moment, I do have, I guess, what I would call a tan for me, but such a good colour. And this is just a really convenient way of concealing with a pencil. And they're nice and creamy. They're not too dry, but they're not too oily. So it's sort of in the middle. So I'm just going to do under my eyes, and I'm also going to do some pinpoint concealing as well. So anything that the tint hasn't covered that I want to soften. For example, you can't see it, but I have a huge spot here, although it's more of a swelling at the moment. I did have a little go at it and it was slightly premature, so hey ho. I'm going to come back to this because by the time I've done blush, and that's going to need some serious attention a little bit later on anyway. And things like that, when you've got spots, and don't worry about them getting perfect at now, because they're the sort of things that I would always leave till the end of the makeup. Not just because you get to kind of work around them, but also you might want to mix a little bit of bronzer or a little bit of your blush with it to create the perfect coverage colour. But once the makeup's finished, you'll know exactly what it should be. So I'm just using that pencil just around the sides of my nose where I have a little bit of redness. Now what I'm going to do is, and this is how I like to do this kind of look, I'm going to do the blush. There's kind of a trend for the last few years of having blush across your nose and top of your cheeks, very like a sort of Snapchat filter. And it's a look that's always been quite popular in Japan, to have that kind of cute blushy look. And certainly makeup artists love doing that look for editorials, because it always looks, it's almost like windburn, I call it, like someone's been out in the elements and they've got that kind of ruddiness and that really beautiful flush of colour. And it seems to be having, well, it's had a renaissance over the last few years because of the e-girl culture, and I think a lot of it has been because of filters as well. So, but it's a nice look, and I want to show you how I would do it. So I'm going to start by using a little bit of cream blush. I'm going to use Dante's Dream, so it's more of a slightly tawny shade, just looking for the right brush. So I'm starting with my cream blush just to the top of the cheeks here, going onto my bridge of my nose. This is going to be quite a layered thing. So I guess it's kind of taking this trend and making it feel a little bit more, I want to say sophisticated, because it's not really. A bit of blush and a few freckles is hardly the height of sophistication, but also just to make it look really beautifully done. And before I go any further with that, I'm going to add a touch more of a layer of sort of pinkness. Next, I'm going to use one of these, which are the Glossier bronzers, and these are quite shimmery for bronzers, so it's more of a shimmery bronze. I'm going to put a little bit onto my eyelids. I use the same brush. I'm being careful because I've got the Lashify lashes on, and I don't want to get any makeup on those, so I'm not going to go over the top of them. But I'm just starting to add a bit more colour. I'm going to use this other mirror just to see. Okay, now I'm using, this is what I mean about layering, and I love doing makeup like this. So I'm going to start to add a little bit of that bronzer just around the side of the face there. This will absolutely give shine as well. I'm going to get another brush because there's a lot of pink blusher on that one still. Bear with this one because there'll be a moment when it's not looking, you'll be like, what's going on? What is she doing? She's lost it. But it's going to come together at the end. This is kind of like a look I do a lot for editorials, when this kind of look is required. So I've not powdered yet because everything's going to be pretty creamy for a while. I'm also going to add in the slightly lighter of the bronzers from Glossier. So this is the lighter shade. I'm going to go just along my lower lash line there, maybe even just around the edge there. And then just blend in under the eyes. I always feel it's really like painting when I do these kinds of looks, because you're just adding layers and layers of paint and making them so kind of smooshed in with each other that you don't really see where one shade starts and the next one shade starts and finishes and the next one begins. So even with that bronzer under the eyes, so a little bit more there. Just building up that bronziness. Now just a touch around the edge of the face there. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is go back in with some blush. I'm going to use quite a bright pink, so this is Pink Poetry. I'm just going to put a dot. And this will be my blush reel, if you like. Even though I've used blush already, it's all gone very blended in. Whereas this will be my kind of pink blush. So this is almost going to be like the start of where I'm going to do my freckles, because I'll blend them in later with a bit of more bronzer, but I'm just going to have that little flush to start with. Now I'm going to use some pressed powder just to set. So under my eyes, just across here. I'm only going to put a light layer because I have got to do my freckles and I want to blend them in, but I'm just using this powder to put my first layer of setting in there. It's probably going to be enough for now, because it's still a bit of a work in progress. I am going to use an off-white pencil just along my lower waterline. I'm not going to use much though, I just want to give it a slight hint of a lightening. Just for that fresh, ooh, I'll put a bit much in that one. I'll have to put a bit more in this one. And then a touch more mascara. I already had a little bit on, just through the lower lashes, just to keep the eyes really open and fresh. So I'm going to do brows, but before I do that, I'm going to go on to the freckles. So I'm going to use a Stila pen. This is one of my favourite things in my kit for doing freckles. I'm also going to try 2 freckle pens. I know they're very popular now. And these are by Lottie London. There's one which is quite red. I'm not going to use that one. I'm going to use the dark brown one, which is sort of this colour like that. And I'm going to use my Stila, which is a little warmer. So to do this, the best thing to do is just really, because when you look at freckles, they tend to be all different shapes and sizes. So you have to kind of work with layers and pat them in and make them look as natural as possible. So I'm going to start across the bridge of my nose, which I have a couple of freckles at the moment anyway. So all I'm going to do to start with is pretty much just enhance what is there. So I put the dot on, and then I'm using my fingers just to pat them in, and it just takes the edge off them, sort of softens them down, but also gives them that slightly uneven shape that is really what you need to achieve that kind of very natural blush look. So I'm just going to work down onto my... And there's so many ways of doing this. I mean, I just do it old school because I've always done it like this. But if you look on TikTok, people do all kinds of mad hacks for this. And some of them are good and some of them are just ridiculous. So I'm just randomly doing some a little more sort of round and others less so. What you can use a sponge, or you can use a brush as well if you prefer. And if they sort of end up kind of disappearing, that's fine, because you do want that. You want layers of ones which are very, perfect shape. So if one goes like that, don't worry. You can just take it like that and then just press it, and actually that's a really good one because it's such a weird shape. Starting to go in between as well, I'm going to use my pen. I love these Stila pens for this particular purpose. This colour's a good colour for me because it's got a little bit more warmth in. I do have a real freckle there. And a bit of sun damage here that I'm going to turn into freckles. Next I'm going to take a really thin brush. Is that the thinnest one I've got? I think I've got a thinner one than that, hold on. And I'm going to use the deep one again. So I can just take off a little bit more. Again, this just gives another different type of a shape. You can do a couple there, which makes it quite realistic. So now I'm just doing like in between ones. I feel like I've got enough biggish ones on. So I'm just doing lots of small ones. Some that need patting, some that don't. And again, I'm working on my natural bit of sun damage there, just to turn them into freckles. Probably going to be enough, but I might add a few more in a minute. The next thing I'm going to do is just use my blush again. I'm actually going to mix a little bit of bronzer. So this is the lightest bronzer with a little bit of blush. So I'm going to mix a little bit of Dante's Dream with the lighter shade of the bronzer. This will give me... And this I'm just going to dab again. Just kind of blends a little bit in between the... Just gives it that more natural look because you're kind of framing your freckles. And if you blend them too much, that's fine, because you can go back in and put a couple more. It really is about those layers. If you want them to look natural anyway and not like painted on ones. I'm going to also put a little bit more highlighter just at the inner corner of my eyes, because I think it'll set off really nicely. Now that we've got quite a lot of shading around my eyes as well, where I put the bronzer earlier on. So before I do anything else, I'm going to do my eyebrows. So I'm going to get another eyebrow pen, slightly less red one than I've used for the freckles, just to do my brows. So before I do my brows, I'm just going to give a little layer of powder. So now that this tinted moisturizer is sinking in and settling, I can see that it's a little bit too dewy for me. Okay, so for brows, I'm going to just use, again, a similar pen to the one I've done my freckles with, but this is a deeper one, actually way too deep. Let me just brush that in. Yeah, there's a bit too much payoff for that, so I'll just give a little brush. So before I finish off my freckles, I'm going to do my lips. And for my lips, I'm going to use this lip powder, which is just a really nice, when you've got quite a shiny skin, quite a glowy skin. Just going to do a dust over. Now a touch of pencil. Because this lip, I guess it's more of a, it's just like a sort of soft cloud of a lip. I've just been wanting to try those lip powders, they're actually really nice. So just really natural on the lip front. So just going to go back in and check everything looks nicely blended. I'm going to add a couple more of the freckles. I'm going to do a few more, I guess just smaller ones. Probably won't even pick these up on camera. They're sort of background. These are the backing singers for the main freckles. Yeah, you might not be able to see these. I think using sort of 2 or 3 different shades really helps to make them look natural. And some that which is just so small and so backgroundy. Same with using the bronzer and the blush in the background. It just all becomes in synergy with the skin. It just helps it to look so much more natural. I think using the different shades has really helped. So I've used this one, which is pretty red, Auburny red almost, and then the dark one that I use first, so the deeper brown for the freckles. Then sort of layering on the blusher and the bronzer, and then using my Stila pen, which is somehow something in the middle. So it's more like a warm mid-tone brown. Okay, so I'm keeping it quite natural. hopefully it'll pick up on camera. And that's kind of it. That's the finished look. I think it's a look that when I look at myself now, I think I don't really have very much makeup on, but I know when I see the before and after, it will be quite a difference, I should think. So just need to go back onto this spot. I'm going to mix a little bit of the concealer that I used earlier on, and then I'm going to blend that with a little bit of the blush, just so the tones are similar. So that's the finished look. It definitely feels a lot more sun-kissed, my skin. It is my last gasp of summer, and I think that the trick to this kind of a look is really just working with tones that work with your skin tone. So if you are someone that when you're in the sun you have that pinky redness with a bit of bronze, you know, mixing all those tones together to create those layers of colour that just work well and give your skin that lift. Likewise, if you want to do the freckles, mixing the tones, so mixing some darker shades of like eyebrow pencil with some warmer tones. You don't necessarily need a specially made freckle pen, although there are lots of good ones on the market, and just really mixing them up and then patting them in, because you just want that, not synergy, because you obviously want them to be like real freckles, but just having that kind of, you know, that kind of really making sure they're in synergy with the skin, so that you've got the sort of flush and the bronzer and the highlighter and the freckles, and everything feels like it's almost part of your natural skin tone. So that is me. I'm ready to go out and see the last few rays of summer, and hope that was helpful, hope that was fun, and I'll see you soon.